Hey, everybody, I'm Jody Vance.
And I'm George-Affleck.
And it's time for...
This is the winter of our discontent. Unspun.
Is this where we start complaining about the rain?
I just feel like, we were talking before the show, too, about other stuff. What a year this has been. Your year, personally.
Oh, dude.
You've talked a bit about it with family and sadness and all that stuff. And, if you're in business right now out there, it's not fun. It's not fun.
Safe to say we're not buying the T-shirt for this one, George.
No, we thought 2019 was bad. And remember that when we were all going, can't wait for this year to be over. Now I look back at 2019 and go, what a wonderful year.
It's so bizarre, isn't it? Just and we're looking around with another level of concern and angst and nervousness. And I don't know if you're doing this, but I'm definitely checking in on my Jewish friends. My very, very, very best girlfriend, my power of attorney, the godmother of my child, is a Jewish mother. And I'm checking in with her, couple times, 3 times a week, just to say, are you okay? Because this is just, it's unbelievable. And then you look around and it's not just, the anti-Semitism isn't just coming from the supremacists. It's coming from leftist,
high-educated,
higher learning. Like, what the hell, Natalie Knight? What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, hate speech, right? There's a fine, well, not else there's a fine line. There's a line between free speech, which we have the honor of doing this podcast every week, in a society where we're permitted to say whatever we want, right? But when you start spouting hate and are talking crazy about horrible crimes.
For those who missed it, this woman at a rally to the Vancouver Art Gallery steps. You should go online and find the clip. And she's been given quite the prestigious award from SFU. She has now been put on leave from Langara or Kwantlen. What is it? Is it?
I think it was Langara. Yeah.
I think it was Langara. Yeah. Sorry, Kwantlen. It was Langara. But not basically. She said, here's my paraphrase because I don't have the quote in front of me. I celebrate the attack by Hamas. Like raping innocent women to death. Yeah. And beheading children or pulling a baby out of a mother's womb. I mean, what is this?
It's mad. And you can argue the decision by and the aggressive now move by Israel into the Gaza. You can argue about their approach and say maybe that's too harsh. Maybe they've gone, is this the right way to go? That's an argument of war and conversations about that and revenge and all those things. But to actually celebrate what happened is madness. It's madness. You can't. That is not how we operate as human beings.
Yeah.
It's not cool. And
it's not okay.
And it's not just her. You're seeing a lot of this, and especially this anti-Semitic. It just shows you how quickly things can change, And when you look at what happened in Germany in the 30s, and you look, people are always looking for scapegoats. They're looking for ways to push their anger or their blame or whatever. And sadly, for many hundreds of years, the Jewish people have been a big central focus of that. And it's just not on to say those kinds of things. You can argue and have a problem with Israel's decision to go into and how they're doing it.
But the government of Israel, by the way, like prior to this happening, I heard somebody say just a couple of days ago when people were saying, calling for a ceasefire, there was a ceasefire. On October 6th, they were under a ceasefire. Hamas broke that. And then Israel has a responsibility and a right to defend itself against a terrorist organization. That's the stance. And then Israel being a partner of the Western world, right? As much as, by the way, not gonna let it slide that Benjamin Netanyahu is 100% one of the worst when it comes to the things that he's been trying to do over the last couple of years. Like, this is not about parsing out whether Israel stands, the government of Israel stands atop a mountain in a shining, suit of armor. Like Bibi Netanyahu was not invited to the White House when he last visited the United States because of the broken nature of the relationship, because he is going down the path of trying to get rid of the courts and the justice system in Israel, and trying to, do away with elections and kind of twist that democracy into something more of a dictatorship. Like that's a whole other conversation, because once you start slaughtering innocent babies, children, and raping women, the world has to stand up against that terror, because it's like they say all in the history books, they come for them and then they come for you. So you have to protect democracy. And the people that I want to reach of anything, because I certainly don't know enough about this, but the LGBTQ2 plus people that are marching with signs that say free Palestine, it's like, do you understand? Do you understand that you would be killed or jailed just for being gay in Gaza?
Frankly, for saying anything against the government in those. Israel has a very similar democratic structure as we do, that we are lucky enough to have, and the Gaza and the Palestine, they do not, and they do not like free speech. So anyways, we gotta. It's like
a lot to get to.
It's a minefield. It's a minefield.
Yeah, bring it back here.
So let's just
had our
that,
little.
Let's just keep things in perspective, everyone. Come on.
Yeah, and try and be kind to one another. If you want to protest, don't protest by attacking the other. Protest by.
We tweeted that this morning. That Harvard student surrounding the one Jewish guy. I mean, what is going on?
That's seriously. Harassment. Yeah. That is assault. That is criminal. It should be. Yeah. It's not, but it should be. But let's talk about some of the politics here at home. UnSpun podcast is always about taking the spin out of the news cycle and trying to look at things, for what they are. So, George, when you heard the province announce again that they were going to change zoning,
well, it's
housing. It's urgent.
It's urgent. It's urgent. It's a climate emergency. This is a next level for the province to usurp or undermine, or whatever word you want to use, override the municipal charter and potentially the Vancouver charter.
Can they override the Vancouver charter?
Well, yeah, they can. Of course, they have control of the charters. Yep, they have control of both. It's just unique that Vancouver has its own charter. It's just a unique situation, but it's quite often the Vancouver charter does things first, and then the municipal charter follows it. As far as rules and regulations, most of what they've described in this decision by the province, which is basically to allow city, to build lots of density everywhere. It's to really simplify it. If it's
like your single family home now you can turn into a fourplex.
Yeah,
whatever.
You still got to go through the city's planning process, which is
permitting.
Usually
still going to cost
more
you
than anything. Yeah. But in Vancouver, they've already kind of just similarly did that just in September, where they kind of approved something similar. But I guess it more from a governmental control situation. And actually, Sam Sullivan had a lot of things to say about this way back. He talked a lot about the public hearing process being broken. And this is kind of feeds into that a little bit, in that the public hearing process is broken. You go through these planning processes, you rezone a neighborhood, and then you still have to go through a public hearing. Why? We've already approved the basic concept of this neighborhood. Why do it just get a committee and decide it? Like, why is it going through politicians again, who of course are always influenced by the people that show up at a public hearing? They're louder and more obnoxious, and then your decision process, if you're not thinking holistically, which you're supposed to do as a politician, you're afraid of bad PR or whatever, you suddenly will sway over and make a decision that is like counter to what the whole point was, because of some loud people.
But not to mention that oftentimes in the interim between the process being completed and approval being found and the bringing it back for the hearing process, the people in power or the elected officials in the middle might have turned over and might have a completely different and mandate, and then be like, we were brought in to blow this up. Either way, blowing up. I should be very careful with my words. I should not have said that. You know what I mean? Putting shelving, like what's happening with Little Mountain.
Yeah. I know, and of course, and little, yeah, it's a perfect example in a planning nightmare
Failure.
come true, and
Yeah.
neighborhoods influence, because a lot, the province's decision really impacts the only people that are really mad are the not in my backyard people,
Yeah.
and up in Little Mountain, which is this neighborhood, this block, just kind of a big chunk of land that was bought very cheaply from the province 20 years ago, 15
Yeah.
years ago. It's a long time ago.
15 years it's been sitting empty waiting for development. They
Yeah.
tore down the public housing that was there 15 years ago.
Yeah, we did build some when I was in council. We fast tracked some that replaced that housing, but with the promise that the rest of it would be built by 2024. What's the time? How much get 2 months? So the decision by council this week is to fast track it even more. Okay. I am skeptical here as per usual about this. And I feel like this developer, I don't think he's the same developer that did the Trump Tower and that whole process. That building, by the way, is jinxed. Remember before it was a Trump Tower, it was a half-built building forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the Holborn built it, and it became the Trump Tower, which was great. And then,
I've never
so
set foot
he
in
let
there.
this other property sit because I think, whatever, for whatever financial reasons, he couldn't do the math on it or whatever. Because we zoned it when I was there. We've given a significant amount of density can be built there, and a money-making density. There is a specific commitment to a percentage of true social housing that has to be done there. That was a big deal when I was on council that we made that decision. Similar to Oak Ridge's decision, which is also very committed to true social housing. And so, but part of that deal was that the developer had to be a part of that process. And anyway, so we're sitting here in limbo now. I voted on that when I was in council, 2013, maybe 12, 13. So that's 10 years ago.
10, 11 years
and we're
ago.
still
That's
sitting
ridiculous.
here with it empty. And
we have too much government.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
it's just, or when do you have to say to a developer, and can you say to a developer, you have to build this now? You can't. That's not how market economy works. He owns the property. He can pay whatever fine he has to pay for sitting empty.
But then, you know what? Yeah, and that's the thing, though. But the breaks that were given because the negotiation to involve much needed affordable housing, those breaks then go away. Like there has to be some consequence because that loophole is being used, and the sitting on it is it's like putting community gardens on top of gas stations while they wait for it to be purified.
That's a provincial regulation.
Oh, look, I got balloons again. What the hell is happening?
For those who aren't watching, Jody has something on her camera. Her Zoom preferences, I think, that are making weird things happen. Like
if I put a thumbs up,
well, now it won't work.
And then
the balloons. What the
weird? Is it my words? That's so bizarre. Anyway,
say happy. Anyway, so yes, I think
I'm certainly not happy.
It's a very good point. But they've done the opposite in council. They've done the opposite. They're rewarding the developer even more. So it's confusing. I can see why people are angry about it.
I can see that. Well, you want to know something I'm angry about? And no, this time it's not going to be Kit's Pool again. It's about another pool and another community center, and one that I think might be the most important in Vancouver, as somebody who grew up literally in it, because my dad was the head of the PE department at Britannia for 30 plus years. Right. The Britannia Community Centre. I remember when it was built. I was just little when it was built, but what a meeting place for Strathcona meets the downtown east side meets Chinatown. Like it's in this spot. It meets Commercial Drive.
Maybe describe it. For those who haven't been to Britannia Community Centre, maybe describe how it looks, because it's actually quite unique.
It is. It is really. It kind of looks a little Frank Lloyd Wright-ish from the Commercial Drive side of things. It looks like a rancher. When you come in from the school side, it looks like a quality built gym and swimming pool, and then you turn the corner and you're like, oh my god, there's an ice rink there. It's where my dad was was putting Cliff Ronning through workouts when everybody was telling Cliff Ronning that he was too little and he couldn't make the NHL. And my dad's like, I'll show them little, and as a teacher, he's like, I'll run those drills. So funny. Oh my gosh, where I won all my award of excellences in the participation was all the swimming and whatnot at the Britannia Community Centre pool. It was a great pool. And we'd go up to the gym where weight rooms were like few and far between, where it was really quite state of the art at the time when it opened, and certainly not something that that high schools in Vancouver enjoyed. So having it right next to Brit, which is one of the largest schools in Vancouver, and like I said, is so pivotal as a pillar of multiple communities. And now the community center was supposed to be completely rebuilt. And now the whole thing, but now the pool and the ice rink needing to be fixed, because Brit was supposed to already be almost completed, I think, and it hasn't even started. And the community center side, because the pool and the rink came after the community center piece was built. So it's like, it kind of grew like Lego, and it was supposed to be repaired like Lego. And now the want is to let's not do anything until we can do everything, which means we do nothing. And it's just awful. And communities need that place to go. These are people all through Vancouver, but this intersection of society in particular are people who don't have a lot of room to move around in the places that they live. They don't have backyards. They don't have friends next door with a swimming pool. There's so many of us that are so entitled and privileged in this city. And there are so many people who live with less. And this community center is a crossroad of where people who are living their best lives with less can go and be together and enjoy it. Yeah.
Because I lived over on Coast Drive for when my daughter's first 4 years of her life. And so I remember I took a paternity leave for a little bit. And it had everything, right? You go to the pool, there's a kids drop-in thing that I go with other parents. Yeah, it's got, and you don't even notice it. You don't even notice it. It's got tennis courts. It's got a soccer field. Everything. It's got everything. It's really micro. And so outdoor the plan volleyball. That we put, it's got everything. And then a little playground that was redone a couple of years ago. So it's hard to replace, to change, and to rebuild, because everything's connected. The school is massive. It's kind of in the middle of it. Now they're looking at cutting a bunch of stuff out of the plan that we approved when I was there. I still, it's like, what is the holdup here? Why are these things that I approved when I was on council 12 years ago, still, it's not getting done? That one is probably 7 years ago, I think maybe 8 years ago that we approved it. It's just like, come on, like, what is the problem here? And part of it is I think it's earthquake proof, right? That's one of the other issues. Yeah. School's got to be earthquake fixed.
Has to be. Seismically. But when people start talking about, we can't do that because, it's all attached. Look at Oak Ridge. You tell me that you can keep Oak Ridge Mall open and build all of that around it, but you can't fix the community center? Please. Yeah. Where there's a will, there's a way. And the will has always been there to keep that community center thriving. It's like the will about the pool when they told us, you know what? Kids Pool's not going to be repaired for 2 years. We're not going to be able to open this year. Well, once there was some significant backlash, it's not as broken as we thought. Weird.
Your son's at Kits, right? My kids went to Kits. They went there my daughter was there the entire time it was being constructed. Kits High, Kits Liner Secondary. It's like it was rebuilt while the students were there. They just kind of phased them around. They kind of just moved them in clumps as they changed the phase. And in that case, they were actually keeping the facade of the building, really. But they found a way to make it work, and the students didn't seem to care. And it just took a little longer.
All over Vancouver. Yeah. General Gordon was seismically upgraded. Bayview Elementary was upgraded. They can move kids around and do the things to get it done. And to say that you can't is garbage. It's spin is what it is. It's spin, George-Affleck. It is spin.
Do you want to get
to a couple of other things here? What were we going to talk about? We talked about housing, the beaches, Britannia,
the beach, the plan, and I think the other.
Let's talk about that beach plan, because again, how are we talking about that when we can't get anything else already done? Like, how about we do some stuff before we start the next massive project to raise the beach and move the thing and reclaim the sand? I want all of that. Don't
This
get
is
me
the
wrong.
pool we were talking about specifically, or the whole beach, like the moving
Oh,
the
I meant English Bay, like the whole refurbishing
right.
of and
Yeah.
the reclaiming and it's truth and reconciliation and it's,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
It's
erosion and it's plant. I get it. I get it. But you
mhm.
know what? I want to hit pause on all of these big wish list things until we check off some of the major boxes, like, I don't know, finding places for people to live, making a way so I can swim at my local pool without going online
Yes.
a month in advance and
You
booking
talked
a
about
40-minute
Britannia.
window.
Yeah.
Pardon?
But Marpool, the community center there was supposed to have a pool. Now that's not being
Yeah.
built. Uh, the Fraser, the River District. Where's that community
Yeah.
center that's supposed to be built?
Where's
There's
the
many
school in Olympic Village?
Olympic Village. Where's the school in Olympic Village? Good point. Like in the community center, there's needs to expanding in up in. Anyways, there's multiple, and people have to. The park board has all the money. It's through the CACs. In fact, the city council took $100 million away from park board because they weren't spending it. The capital money that's set aside through development levies and cost levies through development, and all this cash is just sitting there, and park board's not doing anything with it because they're so pathetic for so long. They don't do anything. They don't build anything.
Weren't they frozen? Weren't they like frozen with fear during the pandemic because they lost all the parking revenue or something? Because
Yeah,
didn't they
but
cry
that's
broke?
different bucket.
Oh,
Capital
right,
operating.
buckets.
They got capital cash sitting there,
Buckets.
ready to build, ready to spend, and they're not using it. And so city council, who has the power to do this, says, okay, if you're not going to use it, we'll take it. $150 million we extracted from their capital because they weren't using it when we were in council. And I voted against it, but because I said, hey, that's not that's them. And then, of course, where did that money go? We don't know. Housing, sure, right.
Where?
So,
Yeah.
the
No.
capital money was meant to be for parks, which we've talked about this a lot. The whole point of community amenity contributions and community centers and pools and parks is meant to be in a place. And if you live in Vancouver, you know this. And if you live anywhere, you should think about this. Is that as the more dense the neighborhood, and COVID was the perfect proof of this. You need space to go to in your community outside of your actual home, because if your home is a 400 square foot apartment on a 35th floor of a tower, sure, you might have a nice view, but you don't have any space. And so you need the pools, you need parks, you need all this stuff. And if we don't
An
build
indoor
those
running
things and we
track
don't
or
improve those things,
yeah.
then
Yeah.
you go
They
crazy,
fall apart.
literally. You literally
Yeah.
go crazy. And so we're not doing it in Vancouver. We have not built a community center since the Olympics. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's so frustrating, George. I feel like, I mean, how many hundreds of podcasts are we in? And every week we're banging our heads against the wall on the bureaucracy, red tape, reasons why we can't, studies that are coming through. One of the first conversations that you and I ever had was about we're already drinking out of our solo cups at the beach. Come on. Why can't that just be a thing?
Still talking about it.
We're still talking about it. But if it serves the fill in the blank event that's happening, then it's no problem. What? I mean, responsible adults at the beach, no. Irresponsible young people on the Granville Strip, sure. I mean, because there's no way to police that. But that's what I mean. There's no way to police it. But a bunch of people sitting on a blanket at the beach or roll up in your little, four-wheeling, and I'm going to need to look in that cooler there, young lady. I'm like, yeah, I got some Strongbow in there. Okay. That'll be $230. Okay. I can see how I'm disturbing the peace here, but that guy over there smoking a joint who should be fined $2,000 or the one over there smoking a cigarette should be fined $2,000. You're not even going up to them because by the time you get there, they've put it out. So
what they should be doing is shrooms.
Oh, Jesus, let's get talking about the shroom dispensary. I don't know.
Segue for you.
Thank you. So when the pot dispensaries were cropping up,
you got balloons.
It's when I do this. Okay. What is it? How do I do it? When the pot dispensaries, I'm glad. I don't know. I'm going to need to figure this out. This will be very awkward in a news hit. but when the dispensaries were popping up everywhere, I think at one point the illegal dispensary number in my neighborhood was 14.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And
There
we
was
have 2
150
elementary
or something in the
schools.
city. Like it was a lot.
It was a lot. And I was like, why? Why? I mean, okay. It's not like I'm anti-pot, but and most of them had 17-year-olds behind the counter because which I was like, oh, that's not great. Now most of those, so I mean, most of those have been closed, and then there are a couple of licensed cannabis shops that are fine. Thank God their windows are frosted, or we'd all die.
They seem to stop that now, though. The one
Did
underneath
they?
my house is wide open. The windows are just, you can see everything.
Oh,
And
I
it's
haven't
also
noticed. Goes
quite
to
close
show
to a
how much I
school.
shop there. I
Yeah,
don't.
I have never been in there.
No.
But the shrooms, yeah, and I think, and I'm trying to remember back because it was so long ago now. But
Back in the old days.
we we made a conscious decision, council, that I was on to just let it ride, and then we created a whole system, which I had a problem with. I said, okay, so I don't mind us turning a blind eye while we, as rebels, but I worried about the legal ramifications at the time of us making this official. I said,
Right.
there's a difference between, because how do you police something that's illegal? That at that time it wasn't. This is pre-Trudeau and legalization of marijuana.
Yeah.
And I said, you're putting the city in a precarious situation by making this official. And I worried about that. That was my argument against official. I said, you can turn a blind eye and police can just know that it's like whatever. But it's my phone's ringing. Hold on 2 seconds. I got
okay. Phone's ringing. While George is answering his phone, I'm going to look and figure out
Sorry,
how.
I don't know why. It's a phone that nobody's supposed to call. And it's spam, of course. It's spam on it. So yeah, we allow these things. Then the Trudeau got in and legalized it, and then we created a real system, and now narrowed it down to I don't know how many there are in the city. And apparently none of them are making money anymore. Yet when there are 150 of them, they're all making money. I'm so confused by this. Whatever. That's what happens when government gets involved. But now you were saying to me, and this was the mushrooms, the guy. This has popped up, which is something interesting.
Because the police raided a number of these mushroom dispensaries. You might have seen that the mushroom dispensaries that have been popping up everywhere. Some are like microdose here, or welcome 18 over, right. Like really similar to the cannabis, and the conversations about psilocybin and how there might be some great arguments for clinical use, helping people with depression under controlled environments. We are born and raised in the corner of the planet where magic mushrooms grow in the field near our house. Like kids back in the day with the wet pants.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the wet
power
pants.
lines exist because all the mushrooms
100%.
are underneath the power lines out in Langley. So.
Oh, totally. Or on the turf. The rolled up turf that you would, because that's it's the manure that they would put on. So anybody who had a new garden, I mean, I remember all the kids at school would go and they'd look for them, and and they'd make tea, or they
I don't know what you're talking about.
Eat them. Yeah, I wasn't into it. I gotta say, and not because I'm square. I just didn't like the idea of going on a trip. But I know lots of people who love them, and yeah. So, I mean, you do you, boo, is kind of the feeling. Just be safe about it. It's certainly not going to be laced with fentanyl if it's right over there. There's a way to, I think, use a controlled substance. But I don't know that storefronts that are selling them are necessarily the answer. But if you ask Dana Larson, the king of pot, he will tell you that it is his God-given right to sell whatever he wants, wherever he wants, and whenever he wants to do it. And he got busted. 3 of his mushroom dispensaries were busted yesterday, I believe, by Vancouver.
And Vancouver is the center for what's the term? I mean, progressive decision making when it comes to these kinds of things. Marijuana being, pot, the Prince of Pot being from here, and Dana Larson, both of them interesting people. Let's put it that way. But as a result of
what's his name? Mark
Mary Maris.
No. Oops.
Sorry, Mark.
Freudian slip.
Mark.
No, I can't remember.
Yeah, now you've got me totally. This is so bad. It'll come to us. Somebody will tweet at us.
Yeah.
But that kind of
yelled at me.
rebellious policy driven, like it created policies that we then became the leaders of the country that led to, I think, showing that it's not end of the world. Why we can't do it for wine on the beach, back to your earlier point, I don't know. But
well, Well, we're
So
equal
this is
parts nanny
interesting.
state as we are progressive,
Yeah,
right?
it's weird. We
Like
won't
we're
like
like,
wine,
ooh,
no wine in
can't
grocery
sell
stores.
mushrooms
No.
over
Yeah,
here,
oh,
but you can go down there, the street over there, and for sure buy heroin.
yeah.
Like,
See, this is the
no
hypocrisy,
problem.
or
Yeah.
whatever horrible substance that, Dana Larson has made it clear that he's very cautious about what gets sold. And by the way, Canada
Right.
is internationally renowned right now as there are several public companies that are playing around in this space of hallucinogenic medication.
Totally.
And
I
the
know
and the
I personally know professionals
Yeah,
who have undergone supervised psilocybin treatment for depression and have come out the other side feeling unbelievably well. And one friend of mine, actually, acquaintance, one friend who has struggled with alcohol addiction ongoing, had this treatment, came out and has not had a drink nor a craving for a drink since, because it apparently rewires something.
that's right.
Um,
Quickly,
yeah,
very quickly. Like
creates new synapses, I believe was the way it was said.
that's
So,
right.
I mean, there's an argument about CBD and THC and using it for pain
Mm-hmm.
relief instead of using opioids. It's like, who wants it there? Who doesn't want it there? What's the politics behind it? What's the spin on it? Oh, it's deadly. It's going to, but in the wrong hands and used by, young people who don't understand it. I mean, what does that all have to do? And
I just think your point about is this the way what we should be focusing on for the police? Dana Larson's little mushroom shop on Seymour Street, or should it be dealing with the creeps that are hanging around schools, selling shit to kids that are killing them, and construction workers who are looking for pain medication because they can't get? Those are the people we need to be figuring out and dealing with. That's our problem. Hey, police, let's put your focus, instead of coming and getting in your four-wheel vehicle on Kitts Beach and giving me a fine for $60 for having a bottle of wine on a Sunday afternoon,
watching the
or you're going
sunset.
to, no offense to Vancouver police, but these priorities come from somewhere, and I think council could have a say in this, but I'm not, this nanny state on the wrong things, as you said. And come on. I think we can look around. Just walk down Seymour Street where I live any time of the day, and you will see about 10 things you could arrest and police, including where kids play, where there's drug deals and drug consumption happening
Open use.
literally on the playground that these kids are playing at. The busiest playground probably by square foot in probably Canada, at the corner of Davie and Richards and Seymour there, right across the street from injection site. It's like, where are the priorities here?
It comes back to the revolving door piece as well, because the cops can walk by there and be like, oh yeah, well, there's Jim selling his stuff again, arrested Jim for that, and then Jim goes in and he gets processed, and then it goes to the Crown. The Crown's like, yeah, Jim's just we're just gonna let Jim go on bail. He'll come and show up for his court hearing. No, he didn't. Okay, moving on. Oh, there's Jim again, and it's like the definition of insanity.
Only 10 people died because of him. Where was it?
If you're lucky.
In San Francisco, they've announced they're charging dealers with murder now.
Yeah.
So if you are a dealer and you sell your crappy
tainted
fentanyl laced tainted heroin or cocaine, and it kills the person you sold it to, you are going to up on murder charges.
Yeah.
Yes. Correct.
Good.
Correct decision. Exactly. Yeah. So little Jimbo there, who's selling his crack or his heroin, which is laced with fentanyl, and he kills 15, 10, who knows how many people this person's killing, this imaginary Jim that you mentioned.
I was just going to say, can we make sure that everybody understands that there's nobody named Jim there? And if there is, it's totally by fluke. I just came up with that. One more thing I want to add to this, though, as well, the news this week that there's a move away from the drunk tank now.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear about this?
No.
Instead of arresting people for being drunk and disorderly and putting them in jail for being drunk and disorderly, they're looking for a new place to put people where they can get help as opposed to be punished for being drunk and disorderly. I remember that the threat of going to jail for being drunk in public and inappropriate in public kept people from being that. Like,
where's the new place though?
But that's just it. Like, what are they going to build? Are they going to build a spot for people to go? And then do they just sleep it off there and get a little, shower and a hot meal and then go back and do it again? Like, I don't know.
It's well, we see what happened back in the 90s and when they shut down all the institutions, right?
Yeah.
What was the solution for that?
Well, that's
Nothing.
just one of the things that I was thinking is maybe this is a slow walk back to that, to being identifying the people that are chronically and cyclically overindulging in whatever their substance of choice might be, and that they might be able to find a way to use this as an opportunity to actually get people into some semblance of care. I don't know. I just continuing to do what we've been doing and hoping that it changes is just not
I think there's a
going to
definition
work.
for that.
Insanity.
Yes.
We're insane enough to do UnSpun podcast every single Thursday. If you'd like to drop a like or a comment below, you can go to unspunpodcast.com
We did the
and
whole
subscribe.
world this week. The whole world we did.
We did. Controversial opinions to be had as we try and just take off the veneer of spin and just talk things through at our little kitchen table. George Affleck, you can be found on social media. George
_
Affleck at George_Affleck. I'm at Jody Vance, Jody with a Y, on Twitter and Instagram and all that. And I just think you should follow Curve Communications on TikTok because it's hilarious.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. Bye.